Hey guys, welcome back to Black Ambassadors of Change. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know we took a couple of weeks off and we just wanted to recalibrate, take a little vacation from you guys. But this week, as usual, we have very informative, unfortunately, not a very happy episode, but a very informative and a very, very important episode. So just stay tuned, tell your friends, tell your family, subscribe, guys. We're not getting you guys to subscribe when you watch the videos. Please subscribe. Please, please, I beg you. Subscribe. See you soon. Black Ambassador Change. We'll be right back. We're going to tackle some Texas electioneering and voting rights bill that's going on and what's going on down there and exactly how the Democratic Party is handling the situation. So stay tuned. Black Ambassadors of Change is back, baby. See you soon. All right, guys, welcome back. So I'm not sure if you're aware of what's going on in Texas, but I was watching the news the other day and Ari Fisher was interviewing a state senator Thompson, and she was given a little background of what's going on in Texas in regards to the voting right. Apparently, the Texas Republicans and the governor included was motivated by the loss of Donald Trump to change state voting rights laws. Their thing is been to make voting a lot more difficult for people of color. First disclaimer, I am not against voter ID, but what I'm against is a concerted effort to discourage American citizens from voting. First, let's just take a quick look at what one of the state's representatives, her name is Thompson, had to say about the reasons why they decided to leave Texas and actually journey to Washington, D.C. because they felt they weren't getting the response and the media attention in Texas that the issue deserved. So let's take a look at what she had to say, then we'll come back and discuss.
As promised, joining us live from Washington is one of the Texas Democrats who met with Senator Manchin. You may have seen her in that video clip we just showed, State Representative Senfronia Thompson. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
We are talking tonight under somewhat unusual circumstances. You represent Texas citizens there. You say you care a lot about that. But you're avoiding Texas. You're avoiding where you work and represent them. And you say you're going to continue this fight for some time. So walk us through why it's this important to you, what you're standing for.
Mr. Bell, thank you for letting me be on your show. I am a state representative from Texas. I'm 82 years old, and I'm in my 25th term. As a child coming up in Texas, my grandparents used to have to save pennies and nickels. They couldn't afford to save quarters because they were only making $2 a week to buy a poll tax. And they were only allowed to vote in national elections because they were Black and they couldn't vote in the primaries. I have seen a lot in my lifetime. And during that lifetime, I've had an opportunity to see people deny the right to vote, the struggles they had trying to get to the polls. And even though my grandmother had a poll tax, she had to go to a place to be able to cast her vote. In that process, but we didn't have transportation like we have today. They had to catch a bus and go many miles and stand in line and be allowed to vote. It was difficult. I've seen people who were Black killed, bombed, murdered, dogs leached on them. And I've lived with signs that says, no dogs, no Negroes, no Mexicans. And after having experienced all those things in my life, it was incumbent upon me to take a stand and to be able to continue to fight for the rights of Black people to be able to vote, and my constituents to have that privilege not ripped up from them. It was not difficult for me to leave the body that I served in on my 25th term in office because I feel like I have something to preserve. This is not a privilege, it's a right that I have under the Constitution. And that was a Texan who served this nation as President of the United States Lyndon Baines Johnson, on August the 6th, 1965, who signed the Voters' Rights Law into effect. I want to pass something on to my constituents and to the next generation. And if it takes me to stay out and continue my fight, I'm willing to do it. I make $13 a day as a state representative in Texas, and I have a business to supplement my income. But that means nothing if my rights or my constituents are ripped away from them. And what the Republicans want to do, they want to manipulate the laws where they can continue to support their form of government. Texas has 84% people of color, and the Republican represents that 16%, and they want to control the power of 84% of the people. We all want a form of government where we can have a voice in our democracy. We can have that. I want fair elections. We want safe elections. And what they want to do is they want to allow poll watchers to come in. And in my neighborhood, they are very intimidating because they look like there's somebody from the Proud Boys coming to my neighborhood. They're going to allow those people to have full range of walking around in polling places in my precincts. And they can get so close as to see how you vote or listen to your conversation if you're talking to yourself, trying to determine which candidate you may want to choose to vote for. They can even report the poll election judge, and they can cause that person to probably get arrested and get as much as 2 to 10 years in prison. The things that they want to do, even to people with disabilities, if they vote by mail, they have to sign their signature across an envelope. And if they got a voter's identification or maybe a driver's license they have had for 5 or 10 years, maybe during the course of that time that they're voting on it, they had a stroke and their signature changes. They're going to have a group of partisan persons to look at those signatures and say, oh, this does not Melvin's signature? Like it. Well, you know your signature. You never sign your signature the same way twice if you sign it a million times. And those are the kinds of things that we left the state of Texas for. If it was a bill that says we're going to have fair elections, fine, no problem. We have persons who work 2 jobs in order to make ends meet. And you know how difficult it's been. Even you've heard so many stories about head of households, particularly women. So in Harris County, where I'm from, in Houston, we have drive-through voting, 24-hour voting. If you get off of one shift and you only wait to your next one, you can drive through, cast your vote, and keep driving. Right. Or if you happen to be a parent with your children in cars, you don't have to get your kids out of the car. You just leave them there and drive through. They don't want to allow us to have any latitude in being able to offer those kinds of services.
All right, guys. So Representative Thompson spoke about her parents. She spoke about the history of voting rights in this country and why she thought it was so pertinent. But I wanted to know from you or the people in general, how important is voting rights to the American people and African American as a whole? Because what I've been seeing and hearing is a lack of urgency on the part not only of our leaders, African American leaders and people of color, but on the national leaders, the general leaders on the whole. I'm wondering in 2021, why do we feel that it's our job to deny American citizens the right to vote? Why do we feel that that's the moral thing to do? Why do we feel that we can get away with this sort of action? Those questions bring to mind a historical context to these to this situation. This has been going on for over 100 years, and it seems like the system always seems to push back every time African Americans make a step forward. It seems like there's a concerted effort by the powers that be to put African Americans back in their place or to push them back from attaining the equal rights they rightly deserve as an American citizen. I'm really disturbed. In 2021, we are fighting for the right to vote without complications, without people putting up barriers and walls to preventing us from exercising our constitutional right. Now, the media and the the politicians that be, seem to take this very lightly. They don't seem to see the urgency of what's going on. I think the Democratic Party on a whole has taken the African American vote for granted. And that includes the president. And as a matter of fact, let's take a look at the president's response to this whole issue, because before I go deeper into this and discuss this further, and I would like you guys to really comment on this, because I don't feel that people are commenting and people are enough of an outrage over this. So please comment. Let's take a look at what President Biden have to say about the situation and how he's going to handle it.
Grace. But some things in America should be simple and straightforward. Perhaps the most important of those things, the most fundamental of those things, is the right to vote. The right to vote freely. The right to vote freely, the right to vote fairly, the right to have your vote counted. The democratic threshold is liberty. With it, anything's possible. Without it, nothing. And for our democracy and the work and to deliver our work and our people, it's up to all of us to protect that right. This is a test of our time.
So you heard President Biden, and he had some nice words to say, something good to say, but unfortunately, I think it's Johnny come lately. Unfortunately, I think there was no urgency from him. A speech to me is just not going to do it. What happened to the bully pulpit? What happened to using your ambassadors and your administration to be on all the morning shows talking about this? I hear about the economy. I hear about COVID. I hear about infrastructure every day. I even hear about the Asian hate thing every day. What I'm not hearing about is in 2021 that African Americans are fighting for the right to vote. This to me is beyond the pale. This goes beyond. I don't hear the urgency from the president. I don't hear any real action plan. I don't hear him calling it out every day. We need it to be called out every single day. This need to lead the news. It's not leading the news. I was watching Morning Joe a couple of weeks ago, and one of the commentators basically said it wasn't even registering in polling. What is going on? Black people have been voting for the Democratic Party for decades. What are we getting for that loyalty? Where is the fight from them? I don't see a fight. I don't see the urgency. I don't see the respect. Why are we renewing the voting rights? This law should be permanent. There should be no renewal. Where is the outrage from the American citizens that we are going through this? When is this going to stop? I'm asking the American people honest questions, because it seems like we're constantly running around in circles. We're doing what we're supposed to do. We're told the urgency of voting. We come out in our numbers. We voted for the Democratic Party, and then we are forgotten, or we are given a sympathy mention on our issues. I am warning the Democrats. If you don't get your act together and look out for the interests of African Americans, you're going to be in for a rude awakening come next election. Because what I've noticed, however wrong or right Republicans are, if they believe in something, they fight with all their might for it. The Democrats, on the other hand, they're always moving like they're afraid. They're afraid to be called out. They're afraid to be called names. They're afraid of their own shadow. We have two senators from Kentucky, Manchin, and his colleague. They're fighting for the filibuster, which is not even a law, but it's more of a tradition. I hear the rationale, well, if we get rid of it, when the Republicans get back in office, they're going to do what they want to do, or we may not like it. But guess what? The Republicans are going to do what they want to do, whether we like it or not, because they have done that in the past. They could care less what you think about them. They are going to pursue their agenda. And Democrats need to take a page out of the Republicans' book and pursue their agenda. Stop acting like the Republicans won the election, because they did not. Election has consequences. And it's time that Democrats realize that and use the lever of power to support the people who support you. Because if you don't support them, that support won't be there for you in the future. This thing have got me really riled up. Because I don't understand why we are fighting a battle that should have been fought and won decades ago. Why are you not hearing the president come out every day and talk about this? Why is this in passing maybe once a week or twice a week? Isn't my well-being and my vote important to you? I'm warning you, Democrats. You have to look after your base. You have to look after the people that vote for you. Stop worrying all the time and putting all your efforts into the people that don't and will never vote for you. You're taking the people that vote for you, come out in the numbers and work hard to vote for you for granted. You care about everyone and everything except the loyal voters to your party. And this has to stop. I'm calling all you viewers right now. Write your congressmen, call your senators, write them. Tell them this has to be a law permanently, not something to be renewed every 4 or 5 years. And I'm sorry, you may hear the passion in my voice today. But it's very well deserved, because I'm beyond passionate about this. I'm more or less disgusted with the behavior of our politicians right now. I hear some people are threatening to arrest the Democrats that left the state. Arrest them for what? Arrest them from keeping Texas Republicans from passing an unjust law? Tell me, why does the Republican think that they can come on television and talk about African Americans' rights like it means nothing? Like we're insignificant. This has to stop, and it has to stop immediately. We will not tolerate it. We want our rights, and we want our full rights. We don't want our rights to be kept in limbo and be renewed every 10 years, 15 years, whatever. It should be permanent. No American citizen should be fighting for the right to vote in 2021. It is every American citizen's right to vote without being hampered in any way, shape, or form. So guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Black Ambassadors of Change. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. See you soon. Peace.